Strut Nation, Teal Nation, man, this is a different kind of show for so many reasons. Nexus information, Joe. And that's the introductions for everybody here because TD's not with us. Maybe he joins us later on, Joe. We're just going to kind of wing this thing. We've got a big announcement like we've been teasing up forever. We're going to hit a little bit of baseball, softball, some other sports action like we always do. So we're going to dive into it, Joe. First off, before we get to the sort of important stuff, let's hit the really important stuff. We've been off for a couple of weeks. We had our spring break last week. So how was your spring break, Joe?
Spring break was great for me, Chili. I loved it. I mean, my kid was off, and we didn't have any volleyball for a change, and got the wedding kind of behind us, and so it was good to have a bit of a week breather, as we're kind of making the grind through March and April and into May, and of course into June with baseball and softball and whatnot, and the spring sports. But it was good. It was nice. Had a little time off, got a chance to get back on the golf course a little bit.
Oh, how'd you do?
Not very good. I'm not going to talk a whole lot about that. I was terrible, but it's fun to get out there in good weather and, just kind of chop it up a little bit and hack it around. It's always a lot of fun. Of course, and this is Masters week, and that's kind of where TD is this week. So,
you don't go to the Strut, announcement show because you're at the Masters.
Hey, you know what? Hey, I'm happy for him once a blue moon kind of opportunity to get a chance to go to the Masters. I got a chance when I was in high school to go down there for one day, and I never have been back in person. Would love to go. Love this golf tournament. Favorite one of all. But happy for TD, and hopefully he can kind of stick his head in here a little bit tonight and kind of chop it up with us, as we have a lot to talk about in terms of what is on the table and what's going on.
Well, Joe, I'll go ahead and jump into it. I'll tell you what's going on. We've been teasing for the last couple of weeks an announcement, and I've shared out some things alluding to it. And tonight, Joe, I'm going to go ahead, and I think what we can do is I'll read the announcement. Some of this stuff I have to read for you, by the way, Teal Nation, Strut Nation, and Nexus, TD, you'll be listening, is coming from the College Huddle network that I have to share out. Some of it is, coastal related, specific to us. So I'm going to go ahead and jump into the announcement, Joe. It's a little bit long, but most of it does come from the College Huddle network announcing what this is. So let's talk about what's happening, Joe. The Strut podcast began with a conversation between TD and myself at the Boots and Bronze event a couple of years ago. At the event, TD and I talked about the need for a CCU-related sports podcast. After some practice, a show or two, the Nexus joined it, and we became that three-headed monster that y'all know as the Strut. Since 2021, the Strut podcast has enjoyed expansion with the advent of sponsorships. For example, we've benefited from interviews and banter, Joe, like nobody's business. I think you'll agree with that. One thing that has not been misdeceiving is that there has been a lot of hard work behind the scenes. Travel to games, home and away. We thank our spouses and families at home who have enabled us to do what we love doing, and that's talking about coastal sports. We've been tweaking the show as we go along. I really, Joe, feel like sometimes we're flying by the seat of our pants when it comes to what we're doing with this podcast. I hope nobody can tell, but we really are sometimes just kind of flying, just kind of sliding by there sometimes, but we're getting there. On this episode of The Strut, we are pleased to announce that we can now offer you something we have never offered you before. What started with a few dudes talking about the shots, enjoyed by anybody who really bleeds teal and the occasional opponent, is now a national brand. As of April 9th, the Strut podcast has joined the College Huddle Network. The College Huddle Network is a network of nearly 70 different collegiate sports podcasts from both Power 4 and Group of 5. Membership will now allow the Strut to share CCU news, notes, and perspective on a national platform via this show and our YouTube channel. Members of this network, Joe, include nearly every major member of the Atlantic Coast Conference, almost all of the Big 12, half the Big 10, and all but 3 members of the Southeastern Conference, including many Group of 5 members, including the Strut as your representative for Coastal Carolina. Not only will this podcast and YouTube channel be featured nationally, the Strut podcast will also be the conduit of information for Coastal Carolina. We are pleased to provide this new level of information, new guests, more exposure for our current and hopefully future sponsors and higher visibility for our school, its athletes, and everything else Teal Nation and Strut Nation stand for. If you have been or will be on the Strut, you are officially nationwide. We stand on the precipice, Joe, of a brand new day in Strut history. I really can't say that word, by the way. This is not self congratulatory because we're celebrating with each other as well as people who have been listening with us since day one or just yesterday. As of right now, the Strut is officially a national brand, and we would not be here without you. Having said that, we are pleased to announce the Strut Podcast has joined a new community called the College Huddle. The College Huddle has quickly become the largest independent college sports community on the internet. As Coastal's lone representative, we are excited for this opportunity, not only for us, but for you, the listener or fan of the Strut Podcast. Joe, here's what we can expect as part of this community. Here's where our discussion can start here, is there's more opportunities for Coastal and the Strut to collaborate with like-minded, independent, fan-driven podcasts and podcasters. It gives us the ability to interact with other fan bases, future opponents, and what they bring to the table. I think is very exciting because we'll have a chance to interact more with the opponents potentially week in and week out. Our podcast will have the opportunity to have a national platform which will connect the Chanticleer fans and brand with others around the globe. And the last part is, as part of the College Huddle, we now have an abundant amount of resources to aid the continual growth of our show slash podcast, which in turn will bring only more of the opportunities for our listeners, but even more so for our school and for our athletes. Finally, being a part of this community and its vision is a cutting edge in growth of college sports, which, Joe, I think you'll agree, it's changing every single day, it feels like. But we'll make sure that the Strut Podcast, now a part of the College Huddle Network, never gets left behind because the College Huddle is bringing to the table the right, along with everybody else, to allow for those changes to make us and help us grow forward as college athletics landscape grows. We're going to grow right along with it with the help and support of our fellow College Huddle members. So, Joe, we're, as EZ Top once said, we're bad. We're nationwide now.
Very exciting, Chili. Very exciting to be a part of this network. And this all kind of happened rapidly. Just a few months ago, maybe a month ago, when they reached out to us, and it's like, absolutely, got on a conference call and talked it over for about, 30 to 45 minutes, and it's a win-win for everybody. I mean, we maintain our autonomy for our own podcast, which was a kind of a really big thing. I think all three of us, you and me and TD, kind of wanted to make sure that we had that, but we're still part of this huge network that's growing all the time, right? I mean, and we can, put our guests on and they can be seen nationwide once everybody kind of shares information and shares their podcast. And, it's like total win-win for us, and I think it's a win-win for obviously for the College Huddle. And we can post written articles. We've got one up there right now, thecollegehuddle.com. If you want to go read that about our 2024 schedule, we've got something up already, and we can obviously, you mentioned collaboration with other podcasts in terms of how they get their product out and how more information they put out, and not just with a podcast, but with websites and all sorts of things, all sorts of ways, all sorts of vehicles that we can deliver the Strut to our listeners and Chanticleer Nation. So this is it's a big deal. I mean, I'm excited about it, and look forward to the future, moving forward with the College Huddle. I think it's going to be a lot of fun.
I was thinking about two people, groups of people, I should say, that really are going to benefit from this, and it's the people who listen to us and the ones who sponsor us, because we read our ads show in and show out, and we have a good time either hitting the segments or hitting the segues or not hitting the segues, depending on who's doing the reading. But one thing I was thinking about was, for example, Impact Chiropractic, Dan Sign, Coastal Outdoor, Coastal Marketing. Who did I just forget? Hanley's. All those sponsors that we have right now are going to have their names out there amongst nearly 70 different podcasts going from East Coast to West Coast in every major conference. And it's just cool because when we joined on, I've been kind of getting some information as far as messages on Twitter from the different members. And when we joined on, Joe, remember when we had the conversation with the guy who invited us? one thing he said he liked about it was our name and our logo look pretty darn cool, and he likes having that
Mm-hmm.
teal on the map. You can find the map of who's in the College Huddle network, by the way, on the Strut Twitter account. You can see it there. You can see everybody who's in it, and you know every single name on there. I mean, think of a big Southeastern Conference school. They're now hanging out with us, and we're hanging out with them now, and sharing ideas about production, about what you do with your show, and that kind of thing. So, Joe, it's been kind of fun just kind of talking to the people from the College Huddle, the members of it, because when we joined in, I think I was telling you and TD, like the first night, we began getting messages from like Florida State, Tennessee, Alabama said welcome aboard. So all those schools are aware of the Strut, and now, like I said a while ago, we now have a national platform to share all things coastal, and that's just really really cool to me.
It really is. You mentioned another thing too about the way we can share ideas in terms of technology. I mean, and like we're using some different things here tonight. I mean, we're striving to make a better product, right? I mean, different platforms, a better way to deliver the Strut on a week to week basis. And I think being able to collaborate with all of these different podcasts and all of these smart people, right? I mean, that use cutting edge sort of technology to deliver their products. I think this will help. This will help us, help our listeners, and I'm again just excited to be a part of this. Just excited to be a part of this network.
It's kind of funny thinking, and I'll end my thoughts here on this is we went from a couple of guys having a couple of drinks at the Boots and Bronze to now being a part of a national network. And if you've been with us since day one, you've heard either me or Joe or TD kind of talk about some of the challenges we've had, and now, you know, we're nationwide, man. I just can't get over that. Just kind of that's just really cool to me that we can take what's happening in Conway and serve it up on a national level where everybody else in the College Huddle, they're listening or watching the YouTube channel. So they're going to see and know what's happening with us. And to me, honestly, I hate to say it again, but it's just really, really cool that we're now a national level product. And I hope Dr. Benson hears this. His favorite podcast is now nationwide.
Exactly. Chili, we've covered a lot of real estate since we've come online with the Strut podcast. A lot of real estate we've covered, right? So we want to talk about real estate. Who can take care of real estate for us and our listeners out there?
Like my grandpa said, there ain't but one person to talk to. Don't talk to the feet when the head's around. And the head of that question, Joe, is Dan Sign at Dan Sign Realty. Class of
There you go.
2001. Dan Sign at Dunes Realty Sales is real estate done right. 128 Atlantic Avenue, Murrells Inlet. DanSignRealtor.com. That's SINE, Realtor.com. Toll free, 888 889 9312. People on the West Coast, Joe, just heard that ad.
That they
Just
sure
saying.
did. No question. Yep.
We could charge him double now for a sponsorship, right, Joe? So let's get into other sports, Joe, shall we?
Absolutely. Have at
We've
it.
had we had a lot of action since we were off last week. So I think what I'm going to do, Joe, is just kind of give like a preview of what's coming up to expect in the next few days. And as always, Teal Nation, Strut Nation, if you're looking to get caught up on this, what we always do with this is we just go to goccusports.com. It is a terrific website if you want to get just any kind of just information, honestly, about what's going on with Coastal. Today, there's 4 events going on, for example. I'll kind of do this real quick, Joe. Women's lacrosse defeated Vanderbilt at Vanderbilt today. Men's tennis defeated Mount Olive. Softball won both matchups today against CSU. Coming up on Friday, a lot of stuff happening Friday because it's the spring and a lot of stuff happens in the spring. Track and field will be at the track and field cross country Tom Jones Invitational down in Gainesville, Florida at the University of Florida. Men's golf is in Raleigh. Women's tennis will be at ODU. Beach volleyball at Eastern Kentucky. Women's beach volleyball again later takes on North Florida, same day, 1 o'clock and then 5 o'clock. Softball begins their series, and so does baseball with their series. Softball begins the series with Appalachian State at home. Baseball will begin their series on the road at Statesboro against Georgia Southern. So there's a lot of stuff happening right now. We got some more stuff happening with tennis, men's and women's over the weekend with conference play happening. Lacrosse is still playing, Joe. We've got a lot of stuff happening. And again, go to goccusports.com for all your information there because it's a great place to go, one stop shop for anything coastal athletics related. You can click on the sport, you can click on the calendar, you can see what's coming up. That was a quick overview of what's going on. We got a lot of stuff happening, but I know beach volleyball is still pretty much on fire right now as far as how they've been doing lately.
You say something about the Tom Jones Invitational? Did
That's
you
what it's
mention?
called, Tom Jones
How
Invitational.
about? Well, it's not unusual for the Shots to go and win some of these invitationals, right?
You nailed that one.
How about that, huh? Hey, and
Tom
lacrosse
Jones.
won their sixth in a row today. When you mentioned the win over Vanderbilt, that's six in a row for them.
Mm-hmm.
They're hot right now. 9-4, 2-0 in the ASUN. So congratulations to women's lacrosse to go get a win over Vanderbilt. It's not unusual to see them win either.
Not lately. They have been on fire. Beach volleyball and lacrosse might be our two hottest sports on campus right now because beach
I
volleyball's
would
record
agree. I would
is
agree.
18-6, and they're 6-1 in the conference, and they have beaten some teams who, yeah. And I'm still learning beach volleyball and who's who when it comes to that sport, but we've got to be climbing up there somewhere because even after we play Eastern Kentucky in the College of Charleston Beach Classic, we got like North Florida, UNCW, College of Charleston's in that. Then we go to the Gamecock Grand Slam the next week, and we're playing Georgia State, LSU, South Carolina, some more name teams that our beach volleyball team has taken on, and they're doing terrific. I mean, they're off to a great start and they're having a great season, just like lacrosse is.
No question about that. It's a different game too. Knowing a little bit about volleyball, indoor and outdoor, it's a different game out there in the sand. A lot more about placement, than it is necessarily speed and agility because you can't move nearly as fast that way. But they're doing a great job, doing a great job this spring. So keep it up, Sandy Shots.
Absolutely. And you can catch the next two women's lacrosse matches on ESPN Plus this Saturday against Queens College out of Charlotte. And then you can see them again at Jacksonville University. You know what? Actually, the next 4 or 5 are on ESPN Plus. So you've got a lot of opportunities to watch our women's lacrosse team in action. I think all 4 of those games, no, sorry, 2 of the 4 games coming up are on the road. So you'll get to see them home and away. Next 4 matches of lacrosse will be on the road. So you got to go check out lacrosse too. It's kind of weird, Joe. Have you seen lacrosse yet? Because they're playing at Brooks Stadium.
Oh yeah,
And those
that's
lines
exactly
kind
right.
of mess with me because you're used to seeing the football lines, but then they got the lacrosse lines, and I'm still trying to figure that out. Is she running from the 20-yard line going in? I'm still trying to figure that out.
Mm-hmm. It's a fun
Let's go
sport to
ahead.
watch. Really is.
Yeah, it is. It is. You ready to go ahead and dive into some softball, baseball? Or wait. Joe, you say you go to Conway and you're going to catch a lacrosse match, or maybe you're just driving back from the Tom Jones Invitational. Can you tell me a place that it wouldn't be unusual to get a nice cold Legacy 14
Oh.
beer?
It's not unusual to see somebody from the Strut in Hadley's Pub, class of 2002, CCU class of 2002, the official pub of the Strut podcast, located in Carolina Forest. We will CC you at your local pub. Tom Jones might be in there too. Hanley's in Carolina Forest, 3873 Renee Drive, Myrtle Beach. Call 843-903-4904. We will CC you at your local pub, Hanley's in Carolina Forest.
I miss TD, but it's kind of fun ping ponging back and forth with you because I know when I was out a couple of weeks ago, you and him kind of did the same thing. So
We did.
This is my first experience as a twosome since you joined. So
We do
not
miss
quite used to it.
TD, man. I know he's enjoying it right now. He may pop in here. We told him to. Go ahead and
Yeah.
pop in if you get a chance. I know he's at dinner and he's enjoying all the frills and the experience of where he is right now.
So go
If
ahead and just have a
he
look
doesn't
at.
catch us this week, we'll certainly get back as a
Oh
trio
yeah,
for sure next week.
yeah. TD's the kind of guy he does not like to miss. I will say that, and none of us like to miss, to be honest with you.
No,
But like he always says, and I agree with him that sometimes family's got to come first, and he's down there with his family having a really good time at the Masters. And yeah, I think maybe if I had a chance, I'd be doing the same thing. To be honest with you,
no question. I think I might be too.
softball right now overall it sits at 25-16. They are 5-7 in the Sun Belt Conference. They've had some. We said this earlier. I'll just go ahead and be frank. The Sun Belt Conference is as difficult, in my opinion, in softball as it is in baseball
Mm-hmm.
because you got Louisiana on top. Texas State is second, and everybody else is kind of fighting for crumbs from there.
Yeah, I mean, there's no doubt about it. I mean, it is a tough league, no question about that. But we picked up a couple of wins recently, which is nice. So that's what you do. You just kind of plug away, get wins when you can, especially in this league.
They started off hot, kind of simmered off a little bit when they hit Louisiana to begin the conference schedule. But in looking over what they've done over the last couple of weeks, they won the series against Georgia Southern down in Statesboro. And we said that was going to be a tough one following the
Mm-hmm.
Louisiana series. So we go to Statesboro, win 2 out of 3, beat College of Charleston at home in 5 innings, 8-0. Then we win 2 out of 3 over Southern Miss at home in Conway. And then today on April 10th, defeated Charleston Southern in a doubleheader down here in it's in Conway. Sorry. So we've got Appalachian State coming up for the ladies, and just by way of preview, when it comes to them, right now, as far as softball goes, they're sitting with a RPI of 148. Their best hitter is a girl named Houston, hitting 436. She has a 512 on base percentage. Darnell has 8 home runs and 32 RBI. That's 2 names to look for if you turn it on and catch that action. All those games are broadcast on ESPN Plus over the weekend. Friday at 6, Saturday at 2, Sunday at noon. And then they've got a pitcher, Nease, Neas, 3.28 ERA, and she is 6-9 on the season. That's App State. If you look at the RPI and look at some of the numbers, we've got a really good chance, I think, to win at least 2 of 3 in the softball series coming up against App State.
I would agree, and that's of course your goal. Obviously, your goal is to win all 3, but the biggest thing is you want to come away with a series win. I mean, it's kind of hard to win 3, especially on the road, right? I mean, you're going away from home, and you're not nearly as comfortable a lot of times as a home team is on their own field. But I agree with you. I think this is a great opportunity for shots to go up and get 3, and get themselves right back in the thick of things.
So looking ahead, I think looking at the schedule, by the way, too, for softball. I know you said you had some standings information when it comes to the Sun Belt. I saw like a log jam in softball after Texas State. You have like 3 or 4 teams that are within 2 or 3 games of each other sitting right now. So there's a lot of room for movement within the Sun Belt Conference for softball right now.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I just brain fart. That series is at home. I think I made an allusion to being in Boone. That series is at St. John Stadium in Conway. We're at home this weekend, so don't take what I just said. Forget all of that. My mistake. Brain fart. We're at home. Softball's at home, so that's even better. I mean, so the home team. We're the home team this weekend, so a really good chance now to get 3. You really want to get 3 if you're at the ballpark. So.
Joe, I just found a little feature on here, by the way, not to get off topic. I just found a feature that has like sound effects we could do while we're doing this broadcast live right now.
Oh.
So when you just said that we were actually playing at home versus playing in Boone, I just found this.
Ah, there you
So
go.
there we
I
go.
thought you
This
might go
is
have the doll because I messed one up right there. Doll, the nexus of information. Didn't know his information, but yeah, that's a good sound effect to use right there. The tch.
I'm gonna surprise you with a couple more if I can work them in.
But please do.
Hopefully they
I think
work
that's
in.
pretty cool here on this new platform we're using.
Yeah. And if you're a podcaster listening to us, we're testing out Riverside tonight. So if it works and we can afford it, but Joe, we're nationwide now. I'm wearing a tuxedo. We should be okay to
You
afford
do have a
Riverside going forward,
tuxedo.
right?
I'm very proud of you that you went and got a tuxedo just for this occasion. I meant to do it. I told you I was going to do it, and then I just dropped the ball on that too. So,
And to be honest with you, I wore this to the Struddies. It's the same one.
yes, you did.
All right. Let's head on over to baseball. Baseball sits right now at 22-10 overall, 7-5 in the Sun Belt. We're facing Georgia Southern this weekend, who is coming in with an RPI of 48. Tate for them is batting 349. They've got a guy named J.D. Kaiser who leads in with 5 home runs and 23 RBI. Higgins is their best pitcher, it would seem, on the staff. He's got a 2.39 ERA, but they've got a guy named Fisher. And in looking at their numbers across the board, Joe, for Georgia Southern, Fisher has 1 complete game this year, and he has 44 strikeouts on the season. So Fisher and Higgins, I don't know, TD probably has more information about who you'd probably see on Friday versus Saturday versus Sunday. But I got to believe we're going to at least see Higgins and or Fisher on the first or second day of that series, just based on what I've kind of gathered as far as their numbers go.
Well, you're looking at a Georgia Southern baseball team. I got football in my mind. Georgia Southern baseball team that is hot right now, right? I mean, they're 8-4 in the conference. Louisiana leads the way at 11-1. Southern Miss, Georgia Southern, both 8-4. Georgia Southern's won. Well, going into tonight, they'd won 4 in a row. Georgia Tech beat them here on Wednesday night as we record this 5-4. But still, they come in. That doesn't affect their league standings in any way. I do know we will be at Statesboro. I do know the baseball is on the road, this coming Saturday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. And this is a critical series for us, right? I mean, we sit at 7-5 along with Troy, two-way tie in fourth place right now in the Sun Belt. Our RPI is 21. We're still sitting really good as far as the RPI is concerned. Georgia Southern is 47. I think we have at least 10 teams 87 or better in the RPI in terms of what the Sun Belt Conference is doing. And right now, you kind of look at Coastal. We started 17-3, right? We had that 20-game homestand to start the year, won 15 in a row, and since then we're 5-7, right? A lot of those on the road. We're 5-5 in the last 10. It was critical to come away with that Old Dominion series with a win, right? I mean, we won on Friday, won big, looked bad on Saturday. Poor old TD had to walk him back off the ledge. I mean, he was beside himself. And then all of a sudden on Sunday we win, and we mercy those guys on Sunday and get out of there with a series win. So it's kind of like we're in the part of the season where we're still trying to kind of find some things, right? We're trying to find that third weekend starter, in my opinion. We're trying to find the bottom third of the batting order. Who are those guys that are going to, really step up at the plate? A guy like Dean Mijos. I was listening to Cats last night on his call up at Wake Forest. And of course, we lost that game. But, Mijos is really kind of coming along in the bottom third. He might be that guy that you're looking for, to provide some punch in that part of the lineup. How about Sam Antonacci, though? I mean, you want to talk about some guys that are really how about a fine for us to have this guy as our leadoff hitter? I'm trying to remember the last time, that we've had a guy this effective in that spot. I mean, holy cow, you're talking about a guy that leads us in hitting at, 409. On-base percentage is third in the country right now, 582. He has a 15-game hitting streak. He's reached base in all 32 games. What about that production out of the leadoff spot?
I was going
That's
to say something
phenomenal.
about him reaching base every game so far. That's just when I saw that on Twitter, I think Joe Katz might have put it out that Antonacci has reached base in every single game so far. And that just kind of went. I didn't register at first, to be honest. That's a really cool stat, and I agree 100%. Might be our best pickup we've had this year.
I don't think there's any doubt about that. I mean, he's stolen 9 bases this season, right? I mean, he's walked 33 times. I mean, again, leads us at 409. Just phenomenal. What he's done. Blake Barthol, 13th in the country with 14 home runs on the season. He's still wielding a hot bat at the top of the lineup. And I tell you, we're talking about trying to find starters. You look at a couple of guys who, in the last couple of weeks, I think, and this is one man's opinion, you're right. I think we've got a couple of guys in Riley Eichhoff and Cam Fluke who have established themselves as starters. Now, who's the third guy going to be? I still think they're trying to find the third guy. But Eichhoff, his last 2 starts, at ULM, he went 5 innings, gave up 7 hits, no runs, struck out 3, walked 1, picked up a win. His next start against Old Dominion, 6 innings pitched, only 3 hits, 1 run, struck out 4, walked 1. So he picks up 2 wins his last 2 starts. And Fluke also has won his last 2. ULM, 5 innings pitched, 4 hits, no runs, struck out 8. Old Dominion, similar numbers, 5 innings pitched, 3 hits, no runs, and he also struck out 8 in that ball game too. So, we're still trying to find that third starter, but this is a big series this weekend at Georgia Southern. We need to go down there, get 2 of 3 against a hot Georgia Southern team who swept Georgia State last weekend, right? And again, you look at the standings in this thing, Louisiana, they are just red hot. They have Louisiana Tech tonight. I don't know how that game is going. I'll try to get an update on that. Tech is also hot. That's a big matchup tonight. Then in Lafayette, Louisiana leading the way. Southern Miss, Georgia Southern. Then it's us and Troy. Georgia State also in there at 7-5. So a 3-way tie for 4th right now. So we're getting kind of to the part of the season where the jockeying for position is really going to be big, because you look on the horizon for Coastal after this weekend. Guess who comes to town next week? Right, red hot Louisiana with 16 wins in a row, depending on what they did tonight. So we'll just, we'll just have to see how it all shakes out. We're getting back, going to start to get down to the nitty gritty of the season before we head into, the month of May, and then of course the conference tournament at the end of May.
And the cool thing about it, we talked about this some time back. It was early in the season. I think it was the Duke Indiana time, like the second and third game of the season. We knew we could score runs, and we still are in that same headspace where we're still able to score runs. And I think we talked about it here, maybe more than once actually, where we're still maybe tweaking with the lineup, and things have changed over the course of the season. Where I think, as far as pitching goes, and I hate to say it as we sit now, because I think how many games we've played so far. It looks like we've played. I'm doing math real
32.
quick. 32 games now. At some point, I know we've got our 1 and 2 starter, like you just said, but I think we're still trying to tweak to find that third, maybe fourth pitcher we can rely on to chew up some good innings for us, and that's just kind of how it feels and looks when you watch the game right now. If I baseball experts that know way more than me about it can agree, disagree, but just from what I know about it and what I've seen so far, it just appears that we're still maybe trying to find that next person who can chew up a lot of quality innings for us. And not necessarily chew up, but just give us some good quality starts so we don't have to score, 15 and 20 runs and can actually rely on the pitching to get us through when we need it. Because you're always going to need good defense no matter how far you go in any kind of given season. You're going to have some kind of defensive stand necessary at some point. You can't just rely on luck and offense.
Oh, no question about that. I mean, like you say, I mean, we are trying to find that third guy, right? I mean, I think we're trying to find that guy that can give us that third quality starter, at least get us through a certain number of innings, a certain number of pitches, to where we can bring some guys out of the pen and shut somebody down. But I like what Flukie and Eichhoff have done lately, at least hopefully to solidify at least two of those three spots. And again, it was a tough loss last night up at Wake Forest, but that's a really good ball club, right? And they got a guy who's like the hottest player in the country right this second. I mean, and the thing about Coastal is we Wake did to us what we've done to a lot of teams this season, and that's score a lot of runs early. Wake put up a crooked number in the first inning against us, 5 runs, and then 3 more in the second. Hard to overcome that kind of thing, right? Hard to give up 8 runs in the first 2 innings and try to win on the road against a really, really good team like Wake Forest. But again, the critical thing is win these games in the conference, right? You obviously want to get these midweek games. We hadn't won a midweek game lately. Hopefully, we can turn that around here soon. But get this series at Georgia Southern. Go down there to Statesboro, make a statement. Get this series here, and we can build up some steam heading into the Louisiana series the following weekend. And then, we're still at Southern Miss too later on in the season. So couple of big ones coming up here as we get towards the end of May and the conference tournament.
It kind of felt like the game we had at home against Wake Forest, what we did to them is what they did to us.
I would agree with that 100%. Yeah.
Joe, when you find that third starter, maybe even that fourth starter, and you want to get it out there, hey, we've got our guy now, and you want to market that to the masses, can you recommend some place I would want to go to if I was Coach Gilmore? I'm like, hey, I got my guy. Who should he call when we get that guy and market that out for Coastal?
Well, there's only one. There's only one name to call, and that's Bob Baldwin, CCU class of 2011. When you think Coastal and your marketing needs, think Coastal Marketing. Go see Bob Baldwin at Coastal Marketing. Coastal Marketing is the official merchandise supporter of the Strut Podcast, 475 Sandy Lane, Suite A, Surfside Beach, South Carolina, 29575. Call 843-349-4848, www.coastalmarketinggraphics.com. Again, Bob Baldwin, CCU class of 2011, Coastal Marketing. And I tell you what, Chili, when you're on the road and you're kind of walking around a lot, you're doing a lot of exercising, kind of like we have to go out to all these ball games. We got to record all these results and whatnot. And now we're nationwide. We're going all over the place to see all of these podcasts and watch what people are doing. Sometimes you might get yourself bummed up a little bit. You might have a little bit of an injury, a little bit of a chiropractic problem. What do you need to do about that, Chili?
People from the East Coast and the West Coast can now visit impactchiro.com and dial 843-347-9103 because they will find out when they go to that site or call that number or even drive to 210 Singleton Ridge Road in Conway, they will see Dr. David Turner, Coastal class of 97 of Impact Chiropractic. He's been practicing in Conway for 20 years. Dr. Turner believes in a proactive, wellness based approach to achieving optimal health and function for the entire family. At Impact Chiropractic, we work hard to grow healthy kids rather than fix damaged adults. So happy we can bring these sponsors this nationwide feel, man. I'm kind of joking, but I'm kind of not. So I'm kind of like excited again. But Joe, you were just saying you hit the links over your spring break here. If someone's in the Myrtle Beach area and they're looking to, go to a driving range, maybe play some mini golf, because we know the Danley household is very competitive when it comes to their mini golf. And honestly, when we finally get the strut putt put together, all 70 members
Yes.
of the College Huddle is welcome to attend that, by the way, because Wyoming joined the College Huddle today, Joe, by the way. Wyoming has now joined.
Nice. Very nice.
We
The
now hit
Cowboys.
70. Joe, where will we go to get our mini golf fix in?
Coastal Outdoors Myrtle Beach Family Golf, owned and operated, managed by Coastal Alumni Golf Fund for everyone. We have 4 mini golf facilities and 1 driving range. Captain's Hook Adventure Golf, Jungle Safari, Jurassic Golf, Shipwreck Island Adventure Golf, and Cane Patch Driving Range, Myrtle Beach Family Golf, operated and managed again by Coastal Alumni. They say golf fun for everyone. That's where you got to go.
And they mean it too. Joe, we've kind of done the whole show without TD, and it only lasted 36 minutes to this point.
About that. I like the counter up here too on this thing. I don't have to try to manually keep the time and kind of keep us on target here. I'm looking right at it. Hey,
I know
quick
Strut
update:
Nation is.
Louisiana Tech leads Louisiana 7-2, 7-2 in the top of the 6th. So
Wow.
who knows? The Raging Cajuns 16-game win streak may be coming to a close in Lafayette, but still a long way to go in that one.
And Joe, I guess by way of wrapping things up, because we got the sponsors out there now, and I have 2 last things I want to talk about, and then we can call it a show and hit a shots up, and we can head on out of here. Is one big announcement coming out of Coastal is on Tuesday, April 16th, is the annual 24 hours Giving Teal Tuesday, where you can go. I'll have a link on my Facebook and Twitter. So will the Strut. You'll be able to go in and pick something you want to donate money to, and it can be any amount. You can share and be generous with athletics, your academic major, if you want to give back to that. Like I do history every single year, for example, and I do some athletic stuff too, but you can give any amount to any place at Coastal for 24 hours on April 16th. It's the annual Giving Teal Tuesday. And, we love Coastal. You listening love Coastal. Consider giving something, because this money goes to help people. If you're an alumni like me, and you got those funds that can kind of just help fund your education and move it forward, or give them the experience you once had, those kind of things. That's why Giving Teal Tuesday is so important. So consider giving on Giving Teal Tuesday. That's April 16th for 24 hours. Coastal will open its arms to collect cash and donations, or whatever you want to call it, that you can give to Giving Teal Tuesday, April 16th. And the last thing, Joe, I have to announce is the Strut Podcast is a proud member of the College Huddle Network. Please visit thecollegehuddle.com for more information. Joe, I don't know if you've been to that site yet, but you can actually scroll through and see every single school that's represented when it comes to who's a member. There'll be news articles set up there, so you can go and read our stuff that we're going to produce, because we'll be sharing articles out in the coming days and weeks and months, as long as we're a member. But other schools are doing the same thing, Joe. So if you were looking to catch up on some information about a coaching situation at a school that's in the College Huddle, for example, because I know Arkansas and Kentucky are both in there, for example, and they've had some basketball movement
Mm-hmm.
lately. So you can go in and read that. There's links where you can click on the news. You can hear the podcast and or check out the YouTube channel of our colleagues that are all a part of the College Huddle network. And that's thecollegehuddle.com. Check out that website. It's a good website, by the way. And I
Yeah,
love
I
scrolling
mean,
down. Joe, how'd you feel when you scrolled down on that site and you saw the Strut logo? Strutty was kind of in the middle of the screen for me when I strolled down. I was like, there we are.
hey, you go there now and you're going to see our logo featured prominently right there on the front page. Because, like I said earlier when we mentioned this, we've got a 2024 Coastal football schedule primer. I threw something together in about an hour or two and sent it to them, and that they're looking for content, and so that's one place you can definitely see some strut content, and all three of us, you and me and TD, hopefully will contribute to that, and hopefully we can continue with our own venture as well. Like I said, we're going to be autonomous in what we do, but we're also a part of this network, which I think is fantastic. And speaking of football spring practice winds up this week, Thursday, as we record this on Wednesday night tomorrow, and then on the 11th we'll have a practice, and then Saturday morning will be their final practice of the spring. And so hopefully next week I'm gonna have some sort of report put together for that. Try to get with a coach, hopefully get with Coach Beck, maybe if he has a few minutes to share some thoughts on what happened this spring. And we're certainly we have baseball, softball, and spring sports going on, but hey, football's right around the corner, man. Football's right around the corner. Going to be looking forward to the start of the 2024 season here real soon.
NFL draft is this month, and then I think
Yep.
once you get to NFL draft, you begin thinking about August and practice starting if you're a football person.
No question. Hey, and shout out, congratulations to the former Coastal defensive coordinator Chad Staggs, who is now a senior defensive analyst at Western Kentucky. That's where he was originally going to be before he went and took the job at Georgia State last season as their defensive coordinator. So he is now at Western Kentucky as a senior defensive analyst. I always liked Coach Staggs. Thought he did a pretty good job here.
His episode that we had leading up to the bowl game last season is one of my favorite, just because he was so upfront with us and willing to share what he shared, and just as honest as he was. You found yourself, no matter how bad the situation was between the end of the season and the bowl game, you found another reason to pull for Coastal, and it was Coach Staggs and what he had gone through and what he was still trying to work toward. I think I admired him for being as honest as he was with us that night.
No question. No question. Straight up guy. Told it like it was. Didn't hold anything back. Just let it all out there. And I always appreciate that about him.
Joe, I have a need. I want to push this laugh button. Is there something funny you can say real quick so we can kind of end the show there?
Well, it's not unusual there, Chili, that you want to do something funny. It's not unusual, right?
There it is. I really hope these sound effects come through. We're still recording, by the way, but I hope these sound effects come through for the people, and I didn't screw it up by not pushing something to have it come through, because this worked out pretty well. We're not going to tell people.
I heard it great.
We're not going to tell people we have these.
We'll surprise him when we get TD back in here next week. Missed you this week, buddy. Let's go. Let's get the trio back. Let's get the band back together next week.
Yeah, we're the triumvirate is missing somebody, so we got to have our guy back.
We'll
but
get
having
him.
said that, Joe, let's go ahead and land the plane with a shots up.
Shots up.